The sun was sinking behind the pines on the edge of Ridgewater, turning the whole sky into streaks of orange and gold. A cool breeze rolled across the open stretch of highway where the Hells Angels Colorado chapter had parked nearly a dozen bikes outside an old roadside diner. There. Leather jackets caught the dying light, skull patches glowing like embers. For most people passing by, the sight of so many bikers at once meant one thing: trouble. But anyone who actually knew them understood the truth. These men weren't outlaws. They were veterans, mechanics, husbands, fathers, men who had seen enough darkness to choose light when it mattered. Inside the diner, country music played softly while the Angels talked over coffee and burgers. Laughter echoed from their table, deep, rough, but warm. But outside, in the dusty parking lot, a small shadow approached, bare feet, torn shirt. Hair messy from running, and a black eye swelling dark beneath one side of her face. She couldn't have been older than 7. Her name was Harper Reyes. She stood on the pavement staring at the group of enormous leather-clad men, her small chest rising and falling like she had run a mile nonstop. The bikers didn't notice her at first, their engines still pinged with leftover heat. The rumble of conversations masked the soft, shaky breaths of the little girl standing just 20 feet away. It wasn't until Reaper, the chapter vice captain, stepped outside to smoke that he saw her. He froze mid-step. "Hey," he said softly, lowering his cigarette. "You okay, kid?" Harper's lip trembled. Her eyes glistened with tears she seemed too proud to let fall. Then she whispered it, "Please be my dad." Reaper blinked. He wasn't shocked easily. He had been through war zones, bar fights, and nights on roads so dark they swallowed headlights whole. But nothing prepared him for a little girl asking that question. He crouched down slowly. "What happened to your eye?" he asked gently. "Did you fall?" Harper nodded immediately, too quickly. "Yes, I fell." "Fell really hard," she said. The tone was rehearsed, forced, scared. Reaper didn't push, not yet. Behind him, the rest of the Hells Angels had stepped out, forming a loose semicircle. They weren't trying to trap her, they just sensed something was wrong. Tank, the largest of them, knelt beside Reaper with surprising tenderness. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Tank asked. "Harper," she whispered. "Where's your mom?" Tank asked softly. Harper looked behind her, toward the dark field behind the diner, the tall grass trembling in the wind and her breath hitched in fear. "She's at work. She said she doesn't come back until late." Reaper's eyes narrowed. "And your dad?" Harper looked down at her feet. "I don't have one." The bikers exchanged a look, the kind of silent communication men who have ridden together for years develop. Something was wrong, very wrong. Reaper glanced at that black eye again, the depth of the bruise, the swelling, the fear in her voice when she mentioned the field. This wasn't a simple fall, but before he could ask another question, Harper suddenly grabbed his vest with both hands. "Please don't start your bikes," she blurted out in panic. "Please don't go." Reaper steadied her gently. Hey, breathe," he said. "What's got you scared, little one?" She pointed toward the field. "There's a man down there," she whispered. He was waiting, watching the bikes. He had something metal in his hands, I think. He was gonna hurt you." The Hells Angels straightened. A protective instinct surged through all of them instantly. Reaper turned toward the field. "How long ago?" he asked. "Just now," Harper said. "I ran as fast as I could." "Did he see you?" A tremble ran up her arms. "Yes." Reaper stood slowly, his body filled with a cold, controlled tension. To the other bikers, he said, "We got a problem." Tank cracked his knuckles. "Reaper, you think it's some idiot messing around?" "No," Reaper said. "This girl didn't run barefoot across gravel for no prank." He looked down at Harper again. "Why did you come to us?" he asked. She wiped her face. Because you look strong," she said, "and nobody strong ever helps me." That sentence shattered something inside every biker in the group. Reaper knelt again, looking her in the eyes. "You did the right thing coming to us," he said, "and we're gonna keep you safe. Nothing's gonna happen to you, or us. Understand?" Harper nodded, her small hand gripping the edge of his vest like a lifeline. Inside the diner, customers were watching through the windows, some curious, some scared, some whispering about why a child was talking to bikers, but none of that mattered. Reaper stood tall and addressed his men. "Chrome, Brick, and Tank with me. Jaws, Digger, sweep the back field. Nobody touches a bike until we're sure the area's clean. On it, and someone get this girl a blanket and some water," Reaper added. Tank took off his own leather jacket, massive, heavy, warm, and draped it over Harper's shoulders. It swallowed her entirely, but she hugged it close like armor. Reaper picked her up gently. "We're taking you somewhere safe." Harper buried her face into his vest and whispered again, "Please don't leave me alone with him." Reaper stiffened. "With who?" he asked, but Harper didn't answer. Her tiny body shook in his arms. Whatever she saw out there, whoever she saw, had terrified her beyond words, and the Hells Angels were about to let anyone hurt a child on their watch. Not tonight, not ever. Reaper handed Harper to Tank to keep her warm while he and the others approached the field. The grass blew softly, concealing shadows between the tall blades. Reaper's voice was firm. "When we find him, nobody touches the kid again." The wind swept through the tall grass as Reaper and three of his men stepped off the gravel and into the fading light. The field behind the diner stretched out toward the tree line, long, uneven, and full of shadows that moved like living things. Tank stayed behind with Harper, wrapping his huge arms and leather jacket around her tiny shaking frame. The other bikers formed a protective ring around them, eyes sharp, scanning every direction. Harper's voice echoed in Reaper's ears. "There's a man down there watching your bikes, holding something metal." Reaper moved. Slowly, his boots barely bending the dry stalks beneath him. Chrome walked to his left, Brick to his right, and Jaws brought up the rear with a flashlight ready. "Eyes open," Reaper murmured. Chrome scanned the ground. "You really think some creep was out here, boss?" Reaper didn't answer. He knew it. He'd seen children afraid before, real fear, not pretend, not exaggerated. A child's terror was always honest, pure, unfiltered. Harper wasn't lying. She wasn't confused. She wasn't imagining things. She was running for her life. Brick spoke next, voice low. "What if it's just some drunk idiot?" Reaper shook his head. "No drunk holds metal and hides in a field watching bikes. That's a man with a plan," Chrome added, "or a man with a grudge." They walked further. The grass got thicker, the shadows longer, the wind colder. Jaws turned on his flashlight, cutting through the dusk. Reaper raised a fist. The group froze instantly. "What is it?" Chrome whispered. Reaper pointed, boot prints, fresh ones, leading away from the diner deeper into the field toward the forest. "Someone ran," Jaws muttered. Brick scowled. "Ran away because the kids saw him?" Or, Reaper said, because he was done. The bikers moved again, faster this time. 20 feet further, Chrome crouched. "Boss, look." Reaper knelt beside him. In the dirt lay something silver, thin, shiny, sharp. Jaws exhaled slowly. A spike strip, a homemade one, not police grade, but deadly. Long metal nails bolted to a board, hidden under tall grass, enough to flatten a bike tire instantly, enough to send a rider flying across the pavement, enough to kill. Reaper's jaw clenched. "He was gonna sabotage our bikes," he growled. "Could have killed half the chapter." Brick's fists tightened. "And he used a little girl as cover?" Reaper's eyes burned. "No, he hid behind a place where a kid passes every day. He didn't care who got caught in it." Chrome spoke quietly. "Boss, we're dealing with a monster." Reaper nodded once, then he stood. "We go back, but what about the guy?" Jaws asked. Reaper shook his head. "He'll come back to finish what he started." Star back at the diner. Tank was sitting on the curb now, Harper wrapped in his massive leather jacket, sipping warm cocoa that the diner owner brought out for her. Her knees were pressed tightly to her chest. She kept glancing toward the field, eyes full of worry. When Reaper and his men returned, Tank stood. "Find anything?" Reaper lifted the spike strip. The entire group went silent. "Jesus," Digger muttered. "That would have killed someone." Reaper nodded. "Or dozens." Tank knelt in front of Harper again. "Sweetheart, did you see anything else? Anything you remember?" Harper looked at the ground. "I saw his boots," she whispered. "Boots?" Reaper asked. She nodded. "They were brown, muddy, and he had something on his arm, something red." "Red?" Tank repeated. "Like a tattoo?" "No, like a band." Reaper exchanged a look with Chrome, a red armband. There was only one person in Ridgewater who walked around with a red armband. Earl Maddox, a man notorious for stirring trouble, picking fights, and hating anyone who didn't fit his vision of a good town. He led a small group that protested the Hells Angels' presence from day one. He hated bikers, but worse, he hated strangers in his neighborhood. Chrome spat on the ground. "That coward, we warned him." Reaper's voice turned to ice. "He crossed a line." Tank placed a gentle hand on Harper's shoulder. "Don't worry, little one, we're going to keep you safe." Harper looked up. "Are you mad at me for telling?" Tank's eyes softened. "Mad? No, sweetheart, we're proud of you." Reaper knelt beside her again. "Harper," he said quietly, "you're safe now. We're not letting anyone hurt you. But I gotta ask, that black eye, did you really fall?" Harper hesitated. Her lower lip trembled. Then she nodded, but slowly, unconvincingly. Tank whispered, "She's scared." Reaper realized the truth. Someone in town had hurt her. Not her parents. Her mom worked 2 jobs and her dad was gone. But someone dangerous. Someone who had no issue hurting children and setting deadly traps. Someone like Earl Maddox. Reaper stood. "We're taking her home." Harper's eyes widened. "No, please don't leave me there alone," she cried, clutching Reaper's vest. His breath froze. "Why, sweetheart, is there someone at home you're scared of?" Harper wiped her eyes. "No, not home, but the man, he knows where I live. He follows me sometimes." Reaper's blood went cold. "He what?" Harper nodded in terror. "I saw him by our window once." The bikers exchanged horrified looks. Chrome stepped forward. "That's it. We're not leaving her alone tonight." Reaper nodded. "Tank, take Harper and 3 men to her house. Secure the place." "Yes, boss." Jaws, Digger, Brick, you're with me. "We're paying Earl Maddox a visit." Tank lifted Harper gently. She wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face into the leather patch on his shoulder. "Do worry," Tank whispered. "We ride with angels, and tonight you do too." Star Earl Maddox's farm. The Maddox property sat on a rotting plot of land just outside Ridgewater, a trailer, a barn, and a stack of rusted junk cars. Reaper's group rode in silent formation, headlights cutting. Through the darkness, they parked in front of the barn. Reaper didn't knock. He kicked the door open. Inside, Earl Maddox, red armband and all, jumped up from a workbench, eyes wide. What the? You can't just. Reaper grabbed him by the front of his shirt and slammed him against the wall. You set a trap for us. I don't know what you're. Reaper shoved the spike strip into Earl's chest. You used this. Earl's face paled. Where'd you get that? From the kid who saw you, Reaper growled. The kid you scared, the kid you followed, Earl. Swallowed. You got no proof. Reaper leaned in close. You touched a child. Earl's bravado cracked. I didn't mean no harm. Reaper slammed him again. Shut you pee, you're done. Brick cracked his knuckles. Jaws stepped forward. Earl panicked. Wait, I was just trying to scare you bikers out of town. I wasn't gonna hurt the kid. Reaper's voice turned cold enough to freeze blood. You hurt her when you scared her, and you almost killed us. Earl trembled. What are you gonna do to me? Reaper didn't blink. We're not going to touch you. Earl sagged in relief. Thank God we're turning you into the sheriff, Reaper finished, for attempted murder. Earl's face twisted. You got no right. Reaper stepped back. I'm not the law, he said, but a child trusted us, and we don't break that. The angels grabbed Earl, dragging him toward the door. Reaper pulled out his phone. Dalton, he said when the sheriff answered. We got your man. You what? Earl Maddox, attempted murder of a motorcycle club, endangerment of a minor, and stalking. Sheriff Dalton sighed heavily. Bring him in. Reaper smiled coldly. Oh, we are. Star back at Harper's house. Harper sat on her couch wrapped in Tank's oversized leather jacket like a warm cocoon. Her mother, exhausted from work, burst into tears when she saw her daughter safe. Tank explained everything, gently, calmly, without frightening her. Her mother hugged Harper tightly. Oh, baby, why didn't you tell me sooner? Harper sniffled. I didn't want you to worry. Tank smiled softly. You got the heart of a lion, kid. Harper looked up at him. Are you gonna leave now? Tank shook his head. Not until you're safe. All of us are staying outside till morning. Harper's eyes softened. Then she said again, but this time with a smile instead of fear. Tank, will you be my dad for tonight? Tank swallowed hard. Reaper, standing in the doorway, smiled. You already got 50 angels watching over you, little one. And sometimes family isn't the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one that shows up when you're scared, stands between you and danger, and refuses to let the darkness win. If this story moved you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories.